Hi, I'm Henry Brill, and this is Share Your Work video 3. For this, I'm doing two problems from the homework. I pasted them onto the whiteboard, one with repeated roots, one where the characteristic polynomial has repeated roots, and one problem where the characteristic polynomial has complex roots. Yeah, so here are the problems. So first part of this one is to find, the characteristic polynomial, and show that it has those repeated roots. So we could turn this into characteristic equation where we could use just like, I don't know, m. We got m squared plus 8m plus 16 equals 0. And then factoring this, we get a repeated root. Because it's factors, we could do diamond if you want to visualize or show. We get 16, and then we 8 at the bottom, and then 4 and 4, because they add up to 8 multiply 16, so it's just a repeated root. So we get m plus 4 squared. So now equals 0. Solving for this, our only root is -4. How that happened? Okay, yeah, our only root is -4, and it's repeated. So this calls for, like, since we know it's repeated, because of this, like it's squared, we have to set up, like, the differential equation takes a different form. So we have our root, it's going to be e to the -4t, because, -4 coming from this. So you're just setting this up like our general solution, or not the general solution, sorry, because we're going to have C1, C2. So just getting this, but then we have to do, remember C1 plus C2, but this is where the difference is, because it's a repeated root. We have to add a normal just t. So, and then if there was like another repeated root, we'd add a t squared with C3 and so on. But since it's only squared, the root is repeated twice, or there's two of the same root. One root repeated 2 times. Then we only need this, and the exponent goes with it, like I said. So this is our, solution but we have an initial condition, so we can solve further. So now we apply, let's see what the conditions were. We have y0 equals -4. So then we got, solve for this, -4 equals -4 to the, I think it was 0. Double check that. Let's double check that before going. Yep, 0. So then we have C1, and then this whole term will just go to 0. Zero. So, and then this we know. I don't know why it's doing that. Charging cord is like hitting it. Sorry. And then we know that anything to the 0th power is just 1. So we have -4 equals 1 times C1, or then this just -4 equals C1. Boom. Okay, now solving for C2. Let's see, we have y prime of 0 equals 11. So now I guess just we have to differentiate this, this thing right here. We can use the product rule, so 1 prime 2, 2 prime 1. So we have, with respect to t, y prime, and 1 prime 2, 2 prime 1. So we got derivative of this, it's just -4 e to the -4t. And then 2, so we have just C1, which we know is -4, we'll plug that in after. C2t, boom. And then plus 2 prime 1. So 2 prime is just gonna be I think, yeah, just t. Yeah. Yeah, so with respect, with respect to t, so this goes to 0, because it's a constant, and then the t, the first power, and this will go to the 0th power, so 1, and then it's just C2. So C2, 2 prime 1, so e to the -4 t. Okay, now plugging in C1, because we solved for that. C1 is -4. Oh my god, my charging cable is like wrapped around my computer, sorry. So now let me move this. Okay. Now we have this. I was gonna plug in -4, and I'm also gonna plug in our initial condition, which was 11, I think. Yeah. So 11 equals, and then this is just 1 because it's to 0. So we have -4, and it's just going to be C1 because this t will be 0, plus C2. Excuse me. And we know since this will be 0 yet again, just plus C2. Or no, sorry, this will be 0, so this is therefore 1. It's just plus C2. So then we multiply this. This is 16. And yeah, C2 is therefore -5. All right, cool. This gives us our final answer here. Y e -4t. And then we have not sure what just happened there. Yep, -4t. What the? Okay. And then, yeah, -4t. And then, where is it? We have C1 plus C2t. So C1 was -4. drawing tool back. -4. And then minus 5t. Boom. All right, that is the answer to the first one. All right. Boom. All right. Now, next question. First, have to find the characteristic equation, which we know is going to be m squared plus 4m plus 20 equals 0. All right, so now we can't factor this. Nothing that, adds to, no factors that add to 4 and multiply to 20. So we'll use a quadratic formula. Find m, so m equals -4 square root b squared minus 4ac minus 80 over 2a. Okay, so, sorry, a is 1, just 2. Okay, and then now we could simplify this. So this is -64, which means it is 8i. So -4 plus or minus 8i over 2. Then divide everything by 2. So it is -2 plus or minus 4i. So yeah, this confirms this one has complex roots. All right. Now to solve for the initial condition. So we know this comes, with complex roots, comes in this form. We have y equals e, and then just some constant. This is just the general form, and then c1 cosine, another constant, and then plus second constant, and times sine. And this comes from the CIS expansion. Yeah. Sine, and then we have the same constant as this, and t. Boom, boom. All right, cool. So now just plugging in what we know. So this is in the form of a plus or minus bi. So, and then we plug the imaginary part into here and the real part into this power right here. So this is, we get our equation -2, so e to -2. C1. And then we have 4. Plus or minus 4, because it's 2 roots. In this case, we'll just do plus. All right, so we do plus, but it's comes in conjugate, so it's because you have 2. But yeah, and then you got, well, we got 4t c2 sine 4t Okay, cool. So now we could solve for C1, C2. Once again, oops, missed the T there. All right, so now I did this one out because it's kind of a long product rule. So now doing the product rule for y prime, we get, I wrote this out already in a piece of paper. Same, 1 prime 2, 2 prime 1. We get negative equals negative 2 e2 2t. Then we have c1. I'm going to solve for c1 and c2 after getting both these. Cosine for t plus c2 sine 4t. I guess we're doing, when I wrote it out, I did 2 prime 1, 1 prime 2. But either way works since you add them. And then now we have so now we got this portion. Derivative of cosine, we got negative sine, so C1, this is a C. Sine 4t. Run out of room here. And then it's derivative of sine is cosine, and then plus 4c2 cosine 4t. All right, cool. So now we can start solving for C1, C2. So using our initial conditions, we know 3 for this normal one, so 3, and we get, doing some mental math, this is 1. Cosine of 0 is 1. Yeah, cosine of 0 is 1, so C1. Sine of 0 is 0, so I believe this means C1 is 3. Yeah, so C1 is 3, sweet. And then for this next one, we have our initial condition as negative 18. So negative 18, we have equals, so this goes to 1. So, and we know this is 3, so we'll just plug in 3 here. So negative 2 times 3 plus, this is 0, and then goes to 0, and then plus 4, because this goes to 1. So 4 is C2, and then this goes to 1 as well. So solving for C2 now. We got 6, so add 6 with negative 12 equals 4C2. And then we have C2 is negative 3. Boom. Okay, so our final answer now, YT equals E negative 2T, and then C1, so 3 cosine 4T minus 3 sine 4T. Cool. And that is our answer. Boxing it. Awesome. Cool. Thank you.